Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the final quarterfinals of the European Masters. I am K1ck Scoundrel, and for the first time on the European Masters broadcast, we're bringing in the boy. Foxdrop is here. Matey, how are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm so excited to get casting. I haven't been casting in a while. It's great to be back here in Berlin. EU Masters has been absolutely popping. That last series was...
I was not expecting... Were you expecting...
Right, exactly. I was going to say that.
It
was... No, I wasn't actually. I thought Mystiques Premier were looking like one of the best teams in the tournament.
I hope K1ck doesn't hate me for quoting him on this. K1ck was like, Mystiques Premier win the whole thing. So when I saw the result of this series and we were watching it live, I was like, bloody hell. Not only has one of the favourites of the competition been knocked out, but secondly, Ultra League, man. Ultra League look incredibly good again.
Always in the EU Masters, they always come up, they always come through. They're in the finals in spring, so no real surprise, I suppose. In fact, that team that made it to the finals is the team we're covering today. That is going to be K1ck Neosurf against MOUZ esports.
You did my job for me, mate. Actually, do you want me to just leave? Because I can actually just get...
No, well, if I get your pay as well, then...
Mate, right, we're going to be going into this next series. It is going to be obviously MOUZ versus K1ck Neosurf, and as Foxy quite rightly mentioned, K1ck Neosurf are a previous finalists here at the European Masters. I think everybody that was watching here in spring remembers the onslaught of Polska Górom, the Twitter phenomenon that took over, had even LEC, LCS like talent taking over. Yeah, we had everybody going in. So have a look at K1ck Neosurf here. A very talented roster. Ibo, Shlatan, Matislaw, Puki style, the man himself, and Mystiques coming in support, who was a really, really good addition to the roster as a whole. I think a very highly rated support in Europe.
Yeah, I think overall it's basically the same team that we saw in spring plus Mystiques. And I think this is a stronger K1ck roster, I would say. And Mystiques has that LEC experience as well. You know, he was playing with Excel in the LEC, and I think he's one of the better kind of talent that we have here in Europe.
Absolutely, and obviously the other side of the coin is mousesports, who I think their mid-jungle combo, everybody knows them, already previous European Masters champions, but the whole roster, Tolkin in top, Obsess in the jungle, Leader in the mid lane, and then a very talented bot lane in the form of Jeskla and promisq.
Yeah, we've been seeing some magical things from this team. You might think it's the Leader show, and you know, it kind of is to an extent. He is the flashy player, but they get it done throughout the board, really, and we've seen a lot of plays coming through from top, from bot. As a team, they're working really, really well together, and it's just something that is quite fun to watch for me. They have to be the most fun team that we have here in EU Masters.
Absolutely. I think the way that we kind of talk a little bit about mousesports is they are the skill check team. Like, mousesports are the team that if they are just better than you, you know it, you feel it, you see it. It is just the team that rolls over you. And that is obviously going to be something that becomes less and less easy to execute on as the competition goes on, as the level of competition is upgraded. And this is definitely going to be a telling series. Are mousesports just better, or have the previous finalists got what it takes to contain both Leader, but also the bot lane, Jeskla and promisq? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's one of those, you know, immovable objects and unstoppable force type matchups, especially in that kind of mid-jungle when we see Matislaw and Shlatan is much more of Matislaw playing more like the Orianna, the Gallios, likes to contain the opponent, and of course Leader just likes to pop off. He has 100% ban rate against him with the Akali. We won't be seeing Akali this series, and pretty much bet money on that one. And already starting things off, that Orianna that I talked about, gone. You're not going to be able to contain it.
It's something that Matislaw's played a lot, and we both said, like, if Matislaw's an Orianna, you contain, you deal with, you protect. Ibo's not going to get his hands on the Renekton. He's actually someone that I'd love to explore a bit further as this game goes on, because Ibo, he has been a monster in the European Masters, both in spring, and he has continued that performance into summer. Maybe a little bit understated what he does for the team, but I still remember his Aatrox in spring, and his Renekton is his Aatrox from summer. Like, his Renekton this time round in summer has been actually insane.
He's been here since the very first EU Masters as well in 2018 spring. So everything you just said, you could put any date before it, any year, and it applies to Ibo. You know, and the thing is that he's so versatile in his champion picks as well. You talked about his Aatrox, his Renekton as well. He's played Camille, he's played Urgot, he's played Ornn. It's like whatever his team needs him to play, he'll play it, and he plays
so
it
well, right? He plays it well, that's the thing. Jeskla's not going to get his hands on the Kalista either. As you correctly mentioned, the Akali gets banned. Actually, Leader not under the ban hammer as much, and this is something that MOUZ have done. They did it in their previous games where they ran the Shen, the flexible Shen, that comes out and can either go to Obsess, it can go to promisq, but also can go to Tolkin.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Tolkin's the only one who's played the Shen so far for MOUZ. But as you say, you can flex it pretty much wherever you want to go. Even in that jungle nowadays as well, which is something which is a bit new and maybe a bit surprising for some. But I also do think that kind of thing would even fit Obsess's playstyle. And I'm curious to see, you know, in this next rotation here of picks, I would like to see a bit of focus on the set if that is going to be not if that isn't a jungle Shen. I really think set is a huge enabler for the entirety of MOUZ esports.
Speaking of junglers though, Shlatan, the carry jungler for K1ck, he has immediately locked in Nidalee. That is sending a message to me. That is Shlatan saying, I am ready to absolutely carry this game. I am going to try and put pressure on Obsess. Wow, look at that rotation coming through.
All right.
Camille and Ziggs. Now, I reckon Camille could be flexible.
I think it could be Camille mid as well.
Yeah.
I've seen Leader play Camille mid, and I've seen him practice it on stream as well. I would say for now, we just don't know anything apart from the fact that Ziggs is going bot lane.
Yes.
That's going to be Jeskla's Ziggs. And aside from that, I think, you know, MOUZ are really holding their cards close to their chest. And it's going to make this next rotation of bans quite interesting. And we'll see what K1ck is assuming from these picks so far.
So we've had, obviously, the Kalista, the Caitlyn, and the Ashe. Really coming down that tier list now is the Senna. Senna Nautilus gets locked in for Puki style and Mystiques. And Mystiques, when on any kind of, like, hook-based champion, is always impressive.
Yeah.
But specifically, his Nautilus has been very good.
Yeah, he likes the tankier kind of engaged style champions as well. So it fits perfectly with him. And I also think it's quite nice because when you're growing up a renowned kind of assassin-style player like Leader is, even if he's not playing like the pure assassins like Akali, you'll still see him pick something like Silas or Echo or something along those lines. And having hard CC to lock those down is exactly what you need, and you get a lot of that in Nautilus.
And specifically just point and click style
Exactly.
CC as well. Like, they're slippery. You want to make sure
Press
that
a button, put you in the bin. That's the exact same style champion Nautilus is.
This is why we get you, mate, for those phrases. It is going to be the Lucian ban here. So actually maybe considering that I don't think we've seen Leader on anything ranged this European Masters. I'd have to double check, but
we haven't.
We haven't seen Leader on anything ranged. So it would be interesting to see the Lucian go towards mid, but obviously it is something that has propped up a lot as a mid lane pick over the course of this European Masters, and it is very powerful into certain matchups.
Yeah, definitely. It is. There it is. There's the Silas ban as well. So yeah, there's definitely a decent amount of focus being put on there against Leader, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, Silas is a intense comfort pick for Leader right now, and I think the way that League is played in the current meta, if you can get that mid prio, if you can get that comfort in that mid and then translate that to other lanes, sorted, you're done. And Silas is a great champion to do that. So getting that banned away, we're going to see now. Is it though? Is he going to do that? Because that could very well be a blind Zoe. He's going for it.
It's Matislaw Zoe as well. Matislaw Zoe.
Yep.
How did we were so busy and so fixated in Leader that we forget that Matislaw has Zoe. And that is a huge pickup for him. It's something that was constantly banned. I'm assuming this is going to be Leader's Irelia here.
Yeah, Irelia Sejuani. Yeah, just such a ridiculously strong combo there because the Sejuani passive stacks up on melee hits. So basically, you walk into a lane, Irelia starts stacking your stun. Instantly, you know, you pop that off, and then it's just a really, really tough time. And you can see that the cleanses are coming through on the side of K1ck. Like, they know what's going on there. It's a pretty telegraphed play style, but again, as a champion like Irelia, if you start popping off, you really do start popping off.
Ibo goes for a very trusty Gangplank here, which I assume will obviously be into Tolkin's Camille. And now this is the point where I'm going to start to talk about the compositions, or rather, I'm going to let you talk about the compositions. What do we expect here? I think even from my very lay perspective, I can see that we have a very strong split push or 1-3-1 style coming out from MOUZ. Is that the only way they can execute this? They have the Ziggs as well.
Yeah, I think so. So whenever you see the Shen as a pick, it thrives when there isn't too many team fights going around, because the more that you can create these like 1v1 scenarios and then turn into 2v1 scenarios, that's perfect. That's what Shen wants to do. And you've got Camille, you've got Irelia. They love going in the side lanes. You've got Sejuani, who pairs really well with both those two champions because of what I just explained. Plus, you've got the Shen. When you have something like the Ziggs as well, I feel like wave clear really complements split push comps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it means you can't get punished as much, right? So if you're off on one side and then the enemy team decides, all right, we're just going to push down mid. Oh, sorry. Ziggs thrown out all these things and now you can't go there, right? So I think that's definitely what MOUZ is going for here. And I think that works perfectly in their wheelhouse as well.
And how do you then, for K1ck, envision that they'll be looking to execute win conditions?
Now, I think for K1ck, it's more just a sense of like, I think there's a decent amount of comfort here. And I really, really want to see what we can do with the Nidalee. Like, so for Nidalee, it's specifically on Shlatan. Like, Shlatan as a player in EU Masters is one of the junglers that has the highest damage share, the highest DPM, the vision score, whatever it is. He's an active, aggressive, early game jungler. And Nidalee is exactly that style of jungle. And Obsess, on the other hand, is much more of the kind of facilitator for Leader. And he's gone for the Sejuani. Like, we're seeing real kind of proper cookie cutter picks for both these two players, and I want to see whether it even plays out that way, because the onus really is on Shlatan to get that advantage over the Sejuani in this early game.
And I think Shlatan's capable, right? Shlatan definitely one of the best junglers in this competition. I kind of want to also dial back to what it means for these regions as well. Poland versus the Dark region, the Ultra Liga versus the Prime League. Right now, we've actually got a late invade, so I might just touch on that a minute later, because we have a very late red side invade that will be spotted out because of the ward clear here. It looks like Shlatan may be looking to either split the jungle vertically or just try and 3-buff here.
I would imagine this would be a split, because I don't think that you're going to be able to defend the top side from Obsess here. Like, you're going to see Obsess, but I'm not convinced that you're going to be able to do anything about it. And that's going to be okay here. It does kind of show, like, for the Nidalee at least, like, she's looking a bit more on the side of the map that she can play around, and you've got a lot of CC if you want to do that for the... You know what, I'm actually chatting a load of rubbish here, because it looks like Shlatan is actually going to try and collapse on the Sejuani here, which is a bit surprising to me, but he's going for it. They're bombing it straight to the red buff. They're going to try to catch Obsess. You
told me that you wanted him to be aggressive. He is immediately trying to get on into a set Obsess here. He has got that red buff. Obsess will have that flash and that dash available. Leader now coming in, looking to maybe stack up that passive. Here comes Shlatan. A lot of damage down onto Obsess, straight up. That could be the first kill of the game. Oh, Leader! The flash at the last moment from Obsess, and maybe Leader looking for a second, will not get it because he forces the flash out of Matislaw, but that is not the start that you want to give to mousesports.
Man, that was so close. Leader and Obsess have been playing together on rosters since the dawn of time, and you can see that innate synergy that these two have. That was right down to the wire, and Leader even picks up the first blood, gets the red buff. Perfect start for MOUZ here.
promisq sitting around as well, maybe looking to exploit Matislaw without flash. I mean, Leader's freezing the wave, forcing Matislaw to step up, and promisq's just hovering around. This is so classic mousesports as well. They will just sit around Leader and make sure that he gets the support that he needs. It looks like Mystiques is going to have to head towards the mid lane to at least support Matislaw and try and crash this wave.
So that is something about the Ziggs pick as well that I think is really, really smart from MOUZ. The way that MOUZ has been playing in general so far in EU Masters is that Yes is kind of just left on his own, and he plays more of a facilitator role within the team. And that's something that totally matches up with having a high roam style support. And promisq is almost never in bot lane. Like, he always seems to be roaming around, whether it's on Shen, whether it's on picks like Bard, which are actually pretty good at roaming around, funnily enough. Even like the Galio, which these are picks that MOUZ lean into. And it really does show you, it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to be bot lane enough. What can you do? What can you pick here to look after yourself? And a champion with the best wave clear in the game is probably a champion that can look after himself.
So already MOUZ off to a good start in this quarterfinal, and I think obviously we've got to be aware of the fact that the Ultra Liga, they've already just qualified one seed with Ego Rogue. To match their previous European Masters performance, K1ck would win here and get 2 seeds in the top 4. That would match their previous European Masters performance, because they would be guaranteed a team in the final with an all-Polish semi-final. And obviously then to do better than that, to do better than Spring, the only option for them is to win. And so they need to overcome this challenge. And realistically, I think MOUZ with this roster, they're looking like one of the favorites for the competition. It'll be a big ask as they're going for a dive on Ibo.
Yeah, there's no TP here either. Ibo, you're in trouble, buddy.
Flashes away. Maybe buys time as Tolkin forced to flash too. He will get away.
That was well played. That was really well played, considering MOUZ, you know, they invest 3 people into the top side of the map here, and it's just a flash for flash trade. That was really smartly done. I think they realized that, you know, with Nidalee not being around the top side, with Matislaw not having their TP available, maybe they could have gone for that play. And I do think that's best case scenario by far for Ibo, and for K1ck, really well defended.
Shlatan maybe looking to get a bit of pressure back down. Nice spear onto Obsess. Obsess does not have the flash. Will smite to get some HP back here, making it more difficult for Nidalee to find that execute. He's still going to continue forward. But Tolkin is there. Shlatan?
Okay.
Oh, no! Oh, it's just all going wrong for Shlatan.
Mate, honestly, that's 2 situations where 1 auto attack from killing Obsess. And I'm pretty sure Shlatan was like mid-pounce and he got interrupted there, so the damage didn't go through. That is just absolute disaster for this Nidalee pick that can really, really do a number on a champion like Sejuani. If all of these plays go your way, so far, it's just really not happening, and oh god, it's painful to watch.
promisq on the top side of the map now. We are, by the way, 2 minutes away from Herald spawn, and already some deep vision control going into the red side jungle. Maybe looking for that red side buff respawn for Kick, but just such aggressive roaming plays. I think I saw Jeskla in the red side jungle just a moment ago as well. MOUZ are everywhere on the map.
Yeah, this is it. You know, MOUZ are one of the best teams that we have here in EU Masters. There's a reason why they were 5-1 in the group stage, which was tied for the best record that we had coming into quarterfinals. And a lot of it is just because individual talent, like these guys are off the charts. You know, promisq was playing LEC, M's a champion. Jeskala's been LEC, Leader's been LEC, Obsess and Tolkin have been like top tier ERLs for a long time as well. Like, this is a very, very talented team, and at this stage of the game, you can really exploit that.
I kind of want to expand on the 5-1 as well, because I know it's tied, but MOUZ were in the group of death.
Yeah.
Like, everyone proclaimed that group as the group of death coming into it. MOUZ got the tied best record in one of the hardest groups that we had in the European Masters. And I think the general level of the groups of this European Masters have been higher than any previous European Masters that we've had. But MOUZ really performed. And it looks like they are starting that off in the quarterfinals, going on as they mean to continue. And I think for the Prime League as well, they had a really poor spring. The Prime League had a really poor spring performance in the European Masters. They had no one in the top 4, and we are used to seeing the Prime League at least make top 4. And now they already have Gamer Legion there, and they could, at the end of this quarterfinals, qualify their second seed to the top 4, which I believe would be one of their best performances that they've had since the European Masters began.
Yeah. And then it all just comes down to that finals. You know, DACH region has won the whole thing once before with Bird International Gaming. Poland, on the other hand, getting a good catcher. Yes, so forced to flash away.
Yeah, he does not have flash available. We'll use the Hextech Satchel charge just to get out. But that's the ult coming through, Puki style. Polska Gurom off to a good start. He'll pick up a kill.
I wonder whether Puki style leveled up in the bush there, maybe, because that was a bit disrespectful if Jeskla knew that Senna was level 6. I didn't quite catch what happened there, but either way, that is, you know, that's a good kill going over there. Spooky style on that Senna, catching the Jeskla. The Jeskla, yeah, he's that good, mate. He's the Jeskla.
He's the Jeskla.
Out of position, and that won't happen too much when you're playing as Ziggs, because he does like to keep his range, and I think he's on his lesson from this.
Look at the mid lane CS discrepancy right now. 20 in a ranged versus melee matchup in favor of Leader because of how that early game panned out. Matislaw is pinned under his turret right now because he knows that he gets caught by one stun from Leader, he's probably dead. And
also, if you look at the way MOUZ have been playing around the map, there's been so much pressure put on this mid lane. Like, even if they're not directly walking into mid and ganking Matislaw, they're just all around the place, so that Matislaw has to respect that there could potentially, possibly, be someone around his mid lane. So he has to know that, okay, I can't reset forward here, so I just have to chill out. And then when you stick a Zoe on the turret, that's just absolutely not what you want to have. You can't really last it very well, and it's all leading to this 20 CS deficit.
As you may be aware, we have no idea what the HP on that tower is, but one can assume there are quite a few plates left. So I'm just going to assume that's the case. You just saw Shlatan take the Rift Herald, so you know, something that's going to open up a little bit of individual gold funneling, something that's going to guarantee some plates for someone on the map now. That has been picked up with relatively little contest, in fact, no contest from MOUZ. MOUZ will trade with their bot lane pressure and their mid lane pressure and take a relatively comfortable Drake here.
Yeah, Mountain Dragon's going to be the first one going down in this series. And I'm curious as well, at this point here, you've got the double melee in the top and the mid. Once you've got this first dragon down, I want to see what Obsess decides to do, because you've quite clearly drafted to play around your solo lanes. But when you have a Ziggs as well, with the capacity to blow up towers from like half health, because that's just what Ziggs does with his satchel charge, when we do get to see, I can see on the minimap there's 4 plates left on that tower, so right now it's not necessarily got a target on its back.
We're back.
We can see it. Hello.
Hello, health bar.
And it's something which I don't really expect Obsess to be at this side of the map at all for a good portion of time. It's just like promisq, once he hits level 6, for me that's going to be, all right, there it is. This is it. He's going to start moving around. There it is. And really start maybe going for dives or some really crazy plays.
At what point are we expecting them to open up into a 1-3-1? Now, obviously, Leader's not actually running with teleport here, so that does sometimes constrict what you can do in a true 1-3-1 scenario. But, you know, if Leader's going to continue to just push and no one can actually match him, maybe that's not too much of an issue. But what if they are going to expand into a 1-3-1? At what point in the game are we expecting them to do so?
I would imagine you'd want to break a few towers first. Like, you'd want to at least unlock a bit of the map before you really start going into that 1-3-1. I think for now, your lane assignments are working out pretty well for you. There's Jeskla with the Ziggs, with the wave clear. Like, normally that would be a good few plates going down, but, you know, you pick the Ziggs, you can go by yourself. Everything's all Gucci there, you're all fine. But I am thinking, you know, you've really got to start looking at tower first, and you can see Obsess with his positioning. He's definitely positioning aggressively to look for a dive, so they can potentially take something down.
Ouch. Really low. Lead is actually making his way down towards this bot lane now. Rift Herald has been spawned. Oh, Mystiques went for the hook, didn't quite land out. Here comes the Shen. Coming through from Leader. Will he commit at this point in time? There comes the ultimate as well. It's 2 versus 3 right now, and here comes Matislaw as well. They're in a 2 versus 4 scenario. Leader overstepping. What are you doing, buddy? And maybe not that good just yet.
No, that was a teeny weeny bit too much right there. Yeah, I think you saw with the way that Shen preemptively ulted Leader. Someone in comms there was shouting, "I'm going in! I'm going in! Let's go!" And it was a bit awkward because the flash came through from Irelia a tad bit too late there, so Shen got left behind, wasn't actually delivered into the enemy team. And yeah, they really shouldn't have dedicated to that play. Fortunately though for MOUZ, on the top side of the map, while that was happening, Ibo did indeed get dove by Obsess, like I was hinting at, that Obsess was kind of hovering around for something. Because of the lack of Rift Herald, obviously, Kick are the ones that come out on top, but you still at least get something on the other side.
First tower does go down for Kick here though, so a bit of a shaky early game, but I can't help but feel they are starting to stabilize now. You know, Nidalee's back on that farm. She's managed to pull ahead, you know, ahead of Obsess despite losing early jungle camps and despite losing those 2 very awkward trades in the early game. We're starting to see K1ck get into their stride right now. They managed to contain what could have been a very difficult situation for the mid lane there. But, you know, Matislaw gave up farm. He's given up quite a significant amount of farm, but he didn't give away anything else. He really played a super defensive mid lane game and hasn't given Leader any extra resources.
And that is something that we see a lot from Matislaw in general, just with his play style and the way that K1ck performs as a team. Shlatan and Matislaw as a mid-jungle duo. It's really the Matislaw the one that sets up Shlatan, and Shlatan just kind of runs around and does what he wants to do. And that's why, you know, in a situation like this, Matislaw, sure, he might be losing, but at least he's losing gracefully. When you're playing against MOUZ and you're playing against Leader, that at least in itself is really, really beneficial for you. And it's like, at this point here, if you do get into that side lane play, I'm really worried that Zoe's going to be in a bit of a pickle, but I'm really hoping that K1ck don't see any reason to put a Zoe in a side lane. Because if that happens, Zoe's going to be in a lot of trouble. Speaking of trouble, there might be a little bit going down here. Just going to be walking away at the end of the day.
You know, if they're swapped up towards that top side of the map now, don't think the next Rift Herald is spawning. Is it spawning soon? Looks like they are gathering around the Rift Herald pit to maybe at least set up vision for that, but it is coming up in the next minute or so, so they'll be able to at least collapse on that. But the bot lane for K1ck is in position to contest if they set up correctly for it.
Exactly, and if you do look to go for these objectives, oh boy,
yeah, that sums up my feelings entirely. Good stopwatch coming out onto Matislaw, but he's going to get taunted up, and the kill should go over to Tolkin. Nice setup for MOUZ that does give them that advantage to push towards that Rift Herald, potentially set up for it. And Leader, in the meantime, uncontested on the bottom side of the map here, should get another turret.
It's interesting because Dragon's about to spawn as well, so it seems like there's going to be a bit of a handshake of objectives here. MOUZ prioritizing the top side of the map. Here they go.
Right into Mystiques. They have got Tolkin nearby as he dives in, does not have that Hextech ultimatum. And actually Mystiques...
And look at bot lane.
Yeah, exactly. They're going in onto Leader, pushing him away from that bot lane turret. Mystiques was very defensive there, but the health bars on the MOUZ squad were low. They could have looked to potentially turn, and actually that has maybe stopped them going for a very easy Rift Herald here.
Yeah, I actually think this is... I would have preferred to see MOUZ just not go to the top side at all and just try and play around this dragon here, because I think you're strong enough to contest this one. I think in a 5v5 or whatever, what have you, especially since you just killed Matislaw with his death timer, you would have been able to get there in position. Maybe you could have taken the one down. And because we've had Mountain and Cloud as the first 2 dragons of the game, it guarantees that the soul is either going to be Ocean or Infernal. As we can see, it's Ocean. But both of those souls, whichever one you get, are really good souls to take, especially with these team comps where you've got these scrappy, fighting, all-in comps. Like, I would have thought for MOUZ, it would have been a great idea to really try and go for those dragons and prioritize that and have that as your win condition.
Something that I think is important to have a brief chat about is if this game scales up, if this game goes the distance, you know, we end up going to maybe a 35-minute plus game, does that favor one side or the other? You know, are we looking at superior scaling on one of these sides?
I think that's really interesting because when you have champions like Irelia and Camille, they're two champions that can scale really hard in certain situations.
In side lane matchups,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And it's like when you've got it's rare that you have two of them in one team. I would say in this day and age, in the metas that we usually see. And so because of the way that MOUZ has set up their compositions, I'm really curious to see like how much effort they put into side lane and how much they go for these groups, because Obsess is jumping in here.
And he goes straight onto Matislaw, who doesn't actually get taken out. That's the taunt flash coming out from promisq, and Tolkin picks up the kill to kick things off. And now Ivo doing his best to trade back. The flash in there, taken low. Tolkin is a monster and you can't stop him. Triple kill with a single bomb for Jeskla. A clean ace for MOUZ. What on earth happened?
16 minutes into the game, and there it is. We spent the whole game hyping up the solo laners and MOUZ and saying how, yes, it's just a role player. He must be listening in. He's had enough of that talk. None of that anymore. And here it is, the engage here from MOUZ. K1ck just getting a little bit overzealous for that Rift Herald. And it's kind of starting off in MOUZ, then it goes back to K1ck. And then you seeing all these health bars start blinking. Look at this. There he is. We're getting the zoom in. Oh.
No way. Look at it. It's too perfect. He's too perfect.
That was sick, mate. That was. And the smiley face on the water balloon there as well. Like, that's just the nail in the coffin.
That's awful for K1ck as well. So for
that
K1ck,
really
yeah, especially.
sucks.
That really. So Leader wasn't even involved. Leader's just splitting on the side lane right now. He's gone for the Blade of the Ruined King, going into the Wit's End build as well. One can only assume because he knows that
you got mid jungle
on
the opposite sides, and if anyone's going to attack you in a side lane, it's probably going to be Ivo's dead, by the way.
we missed that one. Ivo's dead.
I missed that. But this is see, like, even I feel like it's just so MOUZ. You've got Camille and Irelia on one team. And yeah, you've got a side lane push going, that's great. And it's both of them in one lane. It's a bit unorthodox, but they're making it work and they get a kill in a tower.
Do you know, I feel like someone that we haven't touched on, and this game has been a key example of just how good he is Tolkin.
Yeah.
He's a guy that often goes, I think when you've got a roster like this on MOUZ, right? I think when you've got a roster like this, you're expecting someone like Tolkin to maybe go under the radar a little bit. But the guy has been an absolute madman on this Camille.
Yeah, he has. In this game, he's been absolutely solid, and even outside of this game, like, he is one of the best players on this team, I would say. Like, best performers. I think Tolkin is definitely the most consistent. And he can do it also with his champion pool. Like, he doesn't just play these kind of champions. He can pick the more tanky things. I remember watching him. I'm pretty sure it was in the UK scene when I first started casting, like 2017. I remember him playing like
he played for XL. He used to play for XL.
I remember him, and he was like, he was a beast back then. And then here he is. You know, he's still beasting it up now, upgrading himself into the German league here as well.
Do you know what's the really interesting discussion about teams that have had the likes of Leader on is that sometimes you get caught up in the Leader hype train. Sometimes you get caught up in the fact that Leader is a player that demands attention, just like this, being demanded attention from 3 members. Has a great stopwatch here, trying to buy time. Mystiques maybe giving up his life, also buying a stopwatch time himself, but he will eventually go down. The rest of MOUZ have rallied to the call of Leader on the top side of the map here. I don't know if K1ck can trade back. Tolkin does his best, locks down, great combo of the CC, and it'll be 2 for nothing overall for MOUZ.
You're a bit too far behind at this point, K1ck. You've got to respect them looking for the pick. But if you don't know about that Zhonya's that brought in just enough time for MOUZ to come and collapse. And I think whenever you're playing versus these kind of bruiser-style champions like the Irelias or the Camilles, you've all played versus them in solo queue, the Riven, the Trinimirs, whatever it is. These type of champions, if they get ahead, you really, really feel it. And there's 2 of them that are ahead on the side of MOUZ. So you can see just the confidence of which Leader plays here. He's going to use that stopwatch to block the initial engage, but then immediately turn straight back in. He doesn't care about anything because he can just do that. He got so much healing from Conqueror and Wit's End. You're so far ahead, you have so much damage. The way that these champions tend to itemize makes you a bit tankier as well. And it's just at this point for K1ck, it's just so difficult for them to fight MOUZ. You have to get for those picks, which they tried, but unfortunately, it just wasn't going to work for them this time.
Something else that was important is he turned onto the tower because he knew that a single satchel charge was going to kill it. So therefore, he didn't even have to worry about the tower. He knew it was going down. And at this point, he is just too far ahead. He is just too far ahead. A double kill for Leader. I feel like you're going to say that a lot throughout this tournament. But going back to Tolkin, a double kill on the other side of the map. And as we said, it's sometimes when you're in a team that has someone like Leader that demands the attention, that draws the spotlight, you maybe go away a little bit, you go under the spotlight a little, but...
You can thrive in that situation, though.
Tolkin certainly is.
Yeah.
Tolkin certainly is. 5-0-8 on his Camille.
Yeah, he's had an absolute blinder of a game. I really do think, you know, this is just MOUZ, you know, in a nutshell. If you wanted to have like a highlight of MOUZ and just, oh, MOUZ is a team in this tournament, I wonder what they're up to, I wonder what their identity is as a team. You just watch this game. You know, I think this really does something.
I think you just watch this series of plays.
Yeah,
you watch the double kill for Leader, and you watch the double kill for Tolkin. That is MOUZ's identity.
Yeah.
They have been the explosive team. They are the team that literally stomps you, and you can do nothing about it. You feel helpless, you don't know how to react, because they're individual players. They will skill check you over and over and over again. This is the first seed from the Dark region.
Yeah.
And they are playing like it.
And this is the first seed from the Ultra League as well. This is Poland's #1, right? And so as a result, like, this isn't like they're walking over any kind of like scrub team that's maybe coming out of, you know, you don't have high expectations for them. You know, in spring, when MOUZ got to quarterfinals, they played versus the #1 Ultra League seed. At that time, it was Rogue. They lost to Rogue in the quarterfinals. They found themselves up against the first seed of the Ultra League again. And this time, they're definitely trying to rewrite history a little bit, because I don't think, you know, I think MOUZ is a team, they're too talented to really accept anything but the title of EU Masters. That maybe sounds a bit extreme to say, but legit, this is one of those teams that just has too many good players on it, that anything but finals is just not good enough.
And as we said, if MOUZ were to win here, if we were to get through to two Prime League, two Dark teams in the top 4, what a return to form for the Prime League and for the Dark region as a whole. Because coming off the spring, which was very disappointing, I think even by their own standards, they have come back swinging. They went under the radar compared to the likes of the LFL and the likes of the Ultra Liga. But to put two teams in the top 4 would be insane. They're already into the base right now. As you can see, the confidence of this roster really pulling out that 1-3-1 to its full effect. I mean, this is just perfect 1-3-1, or even just perfect split push in general. They have the support. Every inhibitor turret is dropping. It really doesn't look like K1ck can even respond. It doesn't even look like K1ck want to respond. They know that this game has slipped between their grasp. Mystiques goes for the Hail Mary play, but in the back already is Tolkin, and everything kicks off. Double kill. Easy as you like. It was over in an instant, just like this game. mousesports 1-0 in the quarterfinal. They are one game away from the semis.
MOUZ with an absolutely dominating performance in game 1 there. That ended 20 kills to 2. That was not close any way, shape or form. And I mean, that's just, when MOUZ get rolling, they're a beauty to watch. And that was a game where they were just rolling out of control.
It was quite simply perfect execution. Yeah. Like, it really was. It was just absolutely beautiful for MOUZ. And it was exactly, as you said, it is MOUZ personified. Absolutely MOUZ personified. Now, MOUZ take game 1 in dominating fashion and are one step closer to the semi-finals. We'll break that game down more after the break.
I feel rich, so I'm getting more drinks, so I'm tryna get licked on. No. So loose, not a shoelace.
if you feel like the show has only just started, we feel the same way, because that was a quick game from MOUZ. They absolutely came out swinging, and I kind of want to briefly touch on the start of the game, Foxtrot, because there was a very clear strategy from Shlatan that didn't work out.
Yeah, it was a bit peculiar what K1ck decided to do. They went for the invade on the enemy red buff, and then when Obsess was matching that with going for K1ck's red buff, they tried to collapse on him with Zoe Nidalee being their mid jungle against Sejuani Irelia, which Sejuani Irelia is probably the strongest 2v2 mid jungle. Like straight up, I don't think you're going to beat that in a 2v2. And it looked like quite a close play, you know, with Obsess surviving on like one hit, and sure, if you get that kill, I think it's a very different game for K1ck. But I don't really think it should have been that close anyway. I just think you shouldn't fight that 2v2. I just think you're playing into MOUZ's hands right there, and it really didn't work out for K1ck.
Yeah, and unfortunately that led to a bit of a snowball, and we had that fight. The fight that you will probably remember, where everything got thrown in the dustbin for K1ck.
Yes, and everything got thrown out from Jeskla here on his Ziggs, and he's the one that picks up this triple kill with one single ability, which is just absolutely hypey to watch. I mean, they all just line up for him. It's beautiful. There it is. Here comes the smiley face. 3 low health targets. Boop. There they go.
I don't think I've ever seen something more perfect.
That was, honestly. I mean, do you not look in the mirror much, or?
Foxy, please, we're live. Sorry. And this is that dive in the top side here as well that was so well calculated, and again, they were just too far ahead at this point.
Yeah, this is, I think K1ck had the right idea trying to go for these plays, because they do have a pretty strong pick comp. You have the Nautilus, you have the Zoe, and even Nidalee. Like, you are trying to find these kind of collapse on people, catch them out of position, especially when you're playing from behind. You want to pick these unfair fights and bully the opponents. But unfortunately, when you're just too far behind, you know, just a little bit too far behind, and it didn't work out for K1ck. And at that point, it was all said and done, and that is going to be game 1 done and dusted in the books. And here's the bracket looking so far.
And there is already a Prime League Dark Region team in the semi-finals versus LDLC on the top side, as you said. This could be a big moment if MOUZ were to win this second game. It is 2 Dark Seeds in the top 4, a very strong performance from this region. And again, given the disappointing spring they had, it is like their anime European Masters redemption arc. They are coming back. And obviously, with Leader and Obsess, they are previous European Masters champions. Not with MOUZ, obviously, when they played for Misfits previous spring, 2019. But they are already European Masters champions. We have already seen the Leader wins European Masters, goes to LEC, had a bit of an up-and-down performance in the LEC, to be fair. He's already lived this. This is just deja vu for him. And obviously, they played incredibly well, but every player on MOUZ played that game incredibly well, and I think it's going to be a relatively big ask for K1ck to sort of reset.
Yeah,
but
they were in the finals, man. They were in the
Exactly.
finals in spring, so if any team can do it, it'll be them.
Well, MOUZ are leading the series 1-0. We'll see if K1ck can answer back and tie that series up after the break. Hey everyone, and welcome to the EU Masters, where we pit the very best ERL teams against one another while showcasing up-and-coming European talent. 12 regions will compete to decide who will reign supreme over Europe, so be the first to scout and the first to cheer. Let's get right into it. EU Masters begins with the play-in group stage, where all regions will have at least one team represented, with a total of 16 teams divided into 4 groups. Here, each team will play against other teams in their group twice, with the top 2 seeds moving on to the play-in knockout stage. The winners here will move on to the group stage, where 12 teams have already pre-qualified. This group stage is where the teams will compete in a double round robin, with the top 2 teams advancing to the knockout stage. From September 15th to 16th, like before, top seeds will play against the second-seeded teams from other groups in a best-of-3, with winners moving on to the semi-finals. Here, the final 4 teams will play a best-of-3 and fight for their spot in the finals, where it'll be a best-of-5 to determine the next EU Masters champion. Each season, fresh talent explodes onto the Rift. The likes of Nemesis, Kazi, Selfmade, and Humanoid all rose up through the EU Masters. But who will be this year's champion? Who will be the next breakout player to make it into the LEC? Join the ride, tag along, and witness history in the making. Bye for now.